In the dead silence of a world lit only by lanterns and candles, something stirred beneath the earth, something thick, black, and ancient. It seeped through cracks in forgotten lands, unnoticed for centuries, until a handful of ambitious men realized it wasn't just a liquid. It was power, it was wealth, it was destiny, and it would create billionaires long before the word billion even existed. This is the untold story of how oil, once considered a useless nuisance, built empires, shaped nations, and changed the world forever. It begins not with machines or markets, but with curiosity and a spark. In the mid-1800s, the world was hungry for energy. Whale oil illuminated the night, but whales were dying out and the oceans were turning empty. Industrial machines demanded fuel, cities needed light, and empires needed something stronger than wind and water. Yet no one truly understood the dark substance bubbling in swamps and leaking from the ground. Farmers cursed it for ruining their soil. They called it rock oil, a filthy tar with no real purpose. But one man saw what others refused to see. Edwin Drake, a former railroad conductor with no engineering background, was given a simple task: extract oil from beneath the earth. It sounded absurd. Drilling was slow, expensive, and repeatedly failed. Locals mocked him, calling his work Drake's folly. His investors were almost bankrupt. He had one last chance before they pulled the plug. And then, on a humid morning in August 1859, the drill struck a deep pocket. Oil surged upward, thick, black, unstoppable. A fountain of wealth that would ignite an entire era. Newspapers declared the discovery a miracle. The truth, it was the beginning of an economic wildfire. What followed was chaos. Towns transformed overnight, as thousands rushed to Pennsylvania, chasing fortunes buried beneath their feet. Wooden derricks rose like forests, and the quiet countryside erupted into a frenzy of drilling, selling, and speculation. Oil became the new gold, faster, cheaper, and far more addictive. But as the oil fever spread, opportunity attracted someone with a very different kind of vision. Someone who wasn't just looking for oil, but for control. John D. Rockefeller was quiet, calculating, almost unnervingly calm. While others competed in the frenzy of drilling, he focused on something far more important: refining. The messy crude oil Drake had discovered was useless until purified into kerosene. Rockefeller realized that whoever controlled refining would control the entire industry. Refiners came and went, collapsing under competition. But Rockefeller studied every weakness, every inefficiency, every loophole. He lowered prices until rivals gasped for air. He struck secret deals with railroads, ensuring his oil traveled cheaper than anyone else's. Competitors found their shipments delayed, or their contracts revoked. One by one they fell, cornered not by force, but by strategy. Rockefeller didn't need violence. He used precision. By the 1880s, his company Standard Oil held nearly 90% of America's refining capacity. Not through luck, through design, through calculation, through an empire of pipelines, warehouses, and ruthless efficiency. For the first time in history, a single man controlled the lifeblood of an entire nation. Oil transformed everything it touched. It powered factories, fueled lamps, and lit up streets that had once feared the dark. Yet the true revolution was just beginning. The arrival of the automobile was like throwing gasoline on a fire. When Henry Ford introduced the Model T, the world didn't simply gain a car. It gained a new dependency. Kerosene lamps slowly disappeared, replaced by engines that demanded gasoline, another product birthed from crude oil. Roads multiplied, cities expanded, and the thirst for oil became insatiable. Rockefeller became the world's first billionaire. But monopolies don't last forever. In 1911, the US government shattered Standard Oil into dozens of smaller companies. What appeared to be a defeat was the greatest twist in Rockefeller's story. The pieces of Standard Oil, Exxon, Mobil, Chevron, and more soon became giants in their own right. His wealth multiplied, not vanished. The empire lived on, just divided into new empires. While America industrialized, another drama unfolded halfway across the world. In the deserts of the Middle East, beneath sands untouched by modern industry, lay oceans of crude oil, far purer and far cheaper than anything in Pennsylvania or Texas. For centuries, these lands were home to nomads, tribes, and ancient cities. No one knew they sat atop the richest energy treasure in human history. Foreign companies arrived quietly, at first surveying, testing, signing long contracts that locals barely understood. What followed reshaped geopolitics forever. The discovery of oil in Persia, Iraq, and later Saudi Arabia shifted global power from Europe to the Middle East and from coal to crude. Kings rose, borders changed, wars ignited, and new billionaires were born not by drilling wells, but by owning land where the earth itself held wealth. Oil had become more than a commodity. It was levering. Nations with oil dictated terms. Nations without it were forced to obey. Energy was no longer just fuel. It was influence, control, and the foundation of modern civilization. But with great power came great consequences. Wars erupted over oil fields. Political coups were backed by corporations. Economies collapsed when oil prices dipped. Fortunes vanished overnight when wells dried. Environmental catastrophes stained oceans and skies. The same substance that built empires also cast shadows that stretched across generations. Then came the 1973 oil crisis. A sudden embargo by Middle Eastern nations sent oil prices skyrocketing. Gas stations ran dry. Lines stretched for miles. The world realized, perhaps for the first time, that a single political decision in a distant region could freeze entire economies. Oil no longer just powered machines that controlled nations. Yet even amidst crisis, wealth grew. Oil companies reported record profits. New billionaires emerged in the Gulf states. Massive skyscrapers rose from sand, financed entirely by oil revenues. Technology, transportation, and warfare all advanced because of one black, viscous substance. But as the world entered the 21st century, a new tension formed. Oil had created billionaires, transformed nations, and accelerated human progress, but it had also triggered climate change, geopolitical instability, and environmental destruction. The world began to question the cost of its dependence. And yet, the world still can't let go. Despite electric cars, renewable energy, and global climate awareness, oil remains the backbone of modern life. It powers planes, ships, plastics, pharmaceuticals, and thousands of unseen industries. Without oil, the world would fall silent in an instant. The story of oil is the story of humanity's ambition, its genius, its greed, its victories, and its failures. It's the story of how a forgotten substance, hidden in the earth, created unimaginable wealth, but also forged chains that still bind global politics today. And somewhere, deep underground, more oil waits silent, ancient, and patient, knowing its power has shaped empires before, and may shape new ones again. Because, as long as the world runs on energy, the legacy of oil, the billionaires it created, the conflicts it sparked, and the empires it built will continue to define our future. Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to join us for more deep dives into the forces that shape our world. See you next time.